Imagine a man who caused fear in every follower of Jesus, a relentless persecutor, a name that made Christians tremble just by hearing it. That man was Saul of Tarsus, educated, influential, zealous, and deeply religious. Saul believed he was doing God's will by arresting and even approving the death of those who preached the gospel. He was determined to destroy Christianity before it could spread any further. And with that mission in mind, he set out on the road to Damascus, believing he was serving heaven, but he had no idea that on that very path, his life would be completely transformed. As he rode determinedly toward Damascus, something beyond explanation occurred. Suddenly, a bright light from heaven surrounded him, so intense that it knocked him to the ground. Then Saul heard a voice asking why he was being persecuted. He saw no one but knew he was in the presence of something supernatural. Blind, disoriented, and deeply shaken, he was led by his companions into the city. 3 days without sight, without food, without water. 3 days of silence, reflection, and spiritual shock. The man who once breathed threats was now surrounded by the presence of the very God he thought he was defending, but was unknowingly fighting against. At the same time, God spoke to a disciple named Ananias, commanding him to go to Saul. Ananias hesitated. After all, this was the man who persecuted Christians. But despite his fear, he obeyed. When he found Saul, he laid hands on him and said he had been sent so that Saul could regain his sight and be filled with the Holy Spirit. At that very moment, something like scales fell from Saul's eyes and he could see again. And that was not just the return of physical sight, but the beginning of a completely renewed spiritual vision. The persecutor would become the greatest preacher of the faith he once tried to destroy. The transformation was so radical that even the disciples doubted at first. But there was no turning back. God had chosen Saul. Saul was baptized, began preaching, and his life turned upside down. Now, instead of threats, he spoke of love. Instead of chasing people down, he welcomed them. Instead of condemning, he forgave. Over time, he became known as Paul. He would go on to write much of the New Testament, traveled through many regions, endured prison, shipwrecks, persecution, and even stoning, all because of the gospel. But he never turned back. His mission was clear. He knew where God had taken him from. He knew how much he had been forgiven. That drove him forward with courage, boldness, and faith. Paul's conversion is one of the most powerful stories in the Bible because it shows that no one is beyond the reach of God's grace. It doesn't matter how far someone has gone, how much they've hurt others, how wrong their path has been. God can change any story. The same light that shone on the road to Damascus still shines today in hearts open to transformation. Maybe you know someone who seems too far gone. Maybe that person is you. But Paul is living proof that God chooses, transforms, and sends even the most unlikely people to fulfill extraordinary purposes. Where many only see the past, God already sees the future. If this message spoke to your heart, subscribe now to Divine Narratives. Leave a like to help more people discover stories that strengthen faith. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful Bible-based video. Share this video with someone who needs to remember that God still changes lives. And in the comments, write in one word what this story means to you. The same God who transformed Paul also transformed your life. See you in the next video.